All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to everyone, and welcome back to the Password Cybersecurity webinars. Today, we're welcoming Emi Eniade, who is a cybersecurity architect. Emi, I'm very glad to see you here. This has been a long time coming. How are you feeling today?
Thank you very much, Super. I'm really feeling great. I'm happy to join this podcast this afternoon and to share knowledge and also to learn. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, likewise. And yeah, as we're all here to learn, we're going to be discussing the topic of cyber insurance. Is it a false sense of security? And that's going to be the main question we're going to be asking today. But before we begin with that, I just wanted to ask about your expertise in cybersecurity, how you got into it, what made you just follow this like very long path of cybersecurity consultancy and architect work. Because I was scouring LinkedIn for potential speakers and potential experts on the webinar, and I noticed that you're um, a one opportunity man. You just took what you did best and you just took took it onto decades of worth of experience. How did you get there, Yemi?
Thank you very much. And I started from the military. I was former with the Royal Navy as a marine engineer. So it's from the military, the act of security actually basically came into my consciousness. So to be honest with you, because I'm opportune to be exposed to some data, so we have to do some courses around how to manage data encryption and so on and so forth. So
Mm.
that's actually the basis. Then after I left the military voluntarily, I basically just did some courses. And by the way, I had my degree in pure and applied mathematics. So basically, it has helped me around, how to um, manage networks and basically some calculations, And like I said, I did a professional training because I have CISSP, I have ISO 27001, data protection officer training. So all these actually helped my transition into cybersecurity world. And I was also opportuned to join one of the big banks. And so yeah, I also trained in anti-money laundering, AML, data security, and so on and so forth. So yes, that's how it began from the military to where I am now. Thank you.
Your description was very humble. You touched on so many topics, but yeah, the most probable is, of course, your certifications and how you actually managed to, go on from military to work in cybersecurity, and here you are right now. So, yeah, while we let people gather, because I'm seeing a lot of people gathering here, like at first it was like 7 people, now it's around 15. So, we're gonna let more people gather before we get to the questions. And there's another question that I want to ask you. It's kind of funny, but I've been meaning to ask this question to our guests for like a very long time. So, what is one thing that you love about cybersecurity, and another thing that you hate about cybersecurity?
Oh, thank you very much. One thing I love about cybersecurity is that no day or no days are same. Yesterday is quite different from today. Yesterday, you're managing something around vulnerability. Today might be something around design. And, so just expect that you have to be on your toes, just like the military. That's why I said the military helped me, because in the military, you have to think on your feet. They will tell you you don't have 2 minutes to waste, just 1 minute, and your decisions must be right. So that actually helped me. So that's why I love solving problems. And don't forget, like I said, my background is in mathematics. So it's like I was actually prepared for this cybersecurity stuff. So, solving problems and also making sure that you maximize opportunity and you turn problems to opportunities. So, yes. But what do I hate about it? Not really, but the challenges, to be honest with you, sometimes overwhelming.
Oh,
You have to wait after work to, maybe join a meeting. Most of the time I work in different zones. For instance, I have a team in America. I have another team in China, and you can see the difference in the time zone. So I have to be like, I'm from Europe, so you can't say you don't want to join the team. So you just have to give your best, and sometimes it's taking a toll on you. But yes, you just have to be cut for it. You have to be happy to do what you're doing. So that has kept me going. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. And you're all over the world. You have teams in USA and China.
Yeah.
Can you expand more on that?
Thank you very much. Because my project is global project, and sometimes and the product also is global. So you have a team in China, for instance. My team working on maybe some laws in China, data privacy, and sometimes in America, you have people working on FDA, which is not American law. So I'm in Europe here, GDPR, and so on and so forth, ISO 27001. So you have to, and also the design, because design is one. So I have to be part of the team, and it's global. Like I said, it's a global product. It's a global company, so I have to basically work with here.
Yeah, and I can't imagine the kind of hurdles you have to, weave through because of all the different regulatory compliances with China, USA, and GDPR. How do you manage that?
Basically, it's about the company policy, and because you work according to quality standards. For instance, we have a QMS that we use basically, so you can't deviate from that. So once that is set, that will help you, and you just walk through the policy. And I'll give an instance. I used to work for one international organization, which has like 27 countries together. I don't want to mention the name. So basically, so we have to deal with a lot of say American standards, German standards, UK, Polish, and you can see how big it is. So that has also basically helped me to be able to navigate and work anywhere. So, but like I said, there's a standard. You have a different frameworks that's been set. So we have to follow that. Whether you are working in Germany, you are working in
Yeah.
Poland, you are working in UK, the QMS controls everything as far as our security standards is concerned. You can't deviate. Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, you got your work handed to you, and you're doing the best you can with it. Just to summarize that last answer, and yeah, the regulatory hurdles, they're everywhere. The world is very not united in terms of regulatory compliance and everything else in between for cybersecurity. But I think someone, of course, will set the standard for it, and in the future, we'll see, a more lenient and a better time in terms of regulatory space. But to get back to our topic about cyber insurance, cyber insurance is a very fun thing.
Mm.
While I was researching for a webinar, I found that it was, you know something that I did not expect it to be. And yeah, I would love to explore that with you by asking our first question um, about cyber insurance, and that is, of course, how has the rise of cyber insurance changed the way your organization approaches risk management and security investment, or any other organization for that matter?
Thank you very much. That's a very good topic, like I discussed with you earlier. And it's one of the things that's basically we definitely shaping businesses, organizations, and any enterprise, because there's a overlap between the two: cyber insurance and cyber security. When we
Mhm.
talk about cyber security or risk management, basically we are looking at the way to maintain, manage, and even prevent any breach or any security gaps, so to speak. And where insurance basically is more or around, we look at the frameworks, we make sure that there are regulatories that being set in place that are followed, and also to help a business to ease the pressure. Because any business that has cyber insurance, any end users basically be happy to basically to use or to get involved with the business, because basically it says they are cyber conscious. Basically, it says they understood the legal and also some of the operational issues that the business may face. That doesn't take away the act of practicing from the business itself. For instance, we can't say, oh, because we are cyber insured, our GDPR policy should be faulty. We can't say because we are cyber insured, we're not following the frameworks like when we're designed, like our NIST. So that's the difference that people need to understand. So the cyber insurance basically gives, let me use the word cushion to any business, and that's basically practicing in the cyberspace, whether digital or even on-prem. It doesn't matter, as far as the policies are being followed. And basically, you have to look at the from the cyber insurance. You look at the legal framework. You look at the compliance. You look at the some of the monitoring aspect. And so these are the overlaps between the two, but they are totally separate. Thank you. And the also the addition benefit to the business, like I said, it gives a cushion and comfort to any customers or clients. For instance, if a company is let me use the word now, when they are SOC 2 compliant now. And
Yeah.
if I want to work on that business, I'll look at that. Oh, I'll be so happy that okay, they are following a solid standard. For instance, a bank or any payment card industry, you following PCI DSS. If I check that and I say, okay, yes, I'm happy that these people are following the standards. So, but also cyber insurance is basically to cushion those frameworks, those regulatories that they are following, those compliances. So that's the difference. But it helps business to understand the legal sometimes and also the operational aspect of their business when you take on cyber insurance.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you draw a very clear line between cyber insurance and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And I, for instance, when I was just starting to get into cybersecurity, researching these topics, trying to find out more, I thought that cyber insurance was essentially a part that compensates you monetarily if something goes wrong. But of course, there is a lot more to it from your answer, and
Yes.
I was very glad to hear that from you. So thanks for sharing that part of knowledge with me and, of course, our viewers. And by the way, we
You,
have over 120 viewers on this webinar alone, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And yeah, let's take it to the next step. So, the second question that I wanted to ask, do you view cyber insurance as a strategic safety net because you mentioned it as a cushion, or does it risk encouraging complacency around core security controls? Because that's also like a very important topic to look into. So, adding on from your first answer, let's take it away from here.
thank you very much. So, looking at the question being asked, in terms of cyber insurance as a strategic safety net,
Mhm.
um, I would say yes, because it, like I said, it enhances any cyber security controls. For instance, we put in place. If there are gaps in our controls, for instance, as a cyber insurance, that will pull it out basically. Because with cyber insurance in place, you are making sure, like I said, these um, controls, regulatories are strictly put in place, and also it enhances the posture of any cybersecurity controls in place. And the B part of the question: does it risk encouraging complacency around cybersecurity control? Does no? Like I said, controls must be in place. For instance, if we put IDP, intrusion detection system, IDS, sorry, intrusion detection systems in any network, and that doesn't basically mean that we cannot have cyber insurance.
Mhm.
That will work together because cyber insurance doesn't will not tell you, oh, certain firewall needs to be placed in this way, or we have to put intrusion detection prevention (IDP) or to scan our environment. Basically, that is around cybersecurity control. That's operation aspect of cybersecurity. So insurance basically deals just to cushion what we mentioned in terms of making sure that the policy in place, the aspect of monitoring, for instance, intact, legal and compliance. So basically, it only, like I said again, cushions or buffers our controls. So we still need to make sure that our standards, security control standards, are in place. We still need to make sure that we perform our operations around, for instance, scanning every day, looking for vulnerabilities, and reviewing CVEs daily or weekly. Patching, we don't ignore that because we have cyber insurance. No, so both work together. But what it does is it makes sure that the risk is being minimized to a certain level. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, well, this just tells me that there is a lot of things, connected to cybersecurity and cyber insurance. And of course, there is this factor of being overwhelmed by all of these things that you mentioned, of course, because they're all interconnected. And I guess to put it bluntly, there is a cushion in the face of cyber insurance, and of course, it you know doesn't really encourage complacency around core security controls. It's just there to go hand in hand with cybersecurity. And speaking about cybersecurity, of course, and its connection to cyber insurance, I wanted to ask you about the most common misconceptions about what insurance actually covers during major incidents. So, kind of connecting the cybersecurity and cyber insurance. What exactly happens there?
Thank you very much. So again, what does cyber insurance actually cover during major incidents? Basically, it looks at the the legal framework. One,
Mhm.
it looks at the which basically also talks about the regulatory and the compliance, and also it look at the aspect of the monitoring. People always forget that they thought, oh, if it's monitoring, it's more technical. Cyber insurance also look at how the environment is monitored, and basically because you understand, it gives you the trend or how maybe a breach happened, and you want to understand that as well. And more importantly, is around making sure that, for instance, if there's an incident, how did it happen? One, then what are the methods to prevent in terms of prevention?
Mhm.
We've seen a couple of times that there are certain gaps around recovery, for instance. And let me give you an example. When we start designing maybe any product, we use a framework basically, which is a secure by design principle. Basically, that doesn't talk about the cyber insurance, okay? But it works when you look at the grid around NIST, which is one of the popular framework being used
Yeah.
now. Governance is being thrown into it. So from cyber insurance perspective, okay, to understand the how major incidents actually occur. So you have to reference your legal framework.
Mhm.
The legal team in the business will handle that around cyber insurance, and also you look at the how the business is being monitored, and the overlap with that, you now work with your maybe your SOC team or your engineering team or DevOps team to now go into, you know, all. For instance, you look at the syslog, you look at what happened, how the trends, you look at how the breach happened, you look at maybe a port was opened, wasn't closed properly, maybe application basically there's no firewall, was weak, or there's a expired certificate. I mean, the list goes on and on that you might need to check. So, but the misconception about what cyber insurance actually covers during the major incident has been maybe cyber insurance, like you said, covers all these risk and mitigation, and like you said, the payment, maybe they will have to pay out to the affected parties. But that's the misconception, which should be basically spelled out and cleared. Like I said, cyber insurance will look into the legal, will look into the business, and even look into the maybe how monitoring are being put in place, so to speak. But the other side of the business of the cybersecurity, which is more technical or operational, which is around scanning, around vulnerability management, incident management, triaging, resolution, containment, even recovery. We have to work together with the cyber, in terms we work with the cyber insurance team, which is more around the legal side, to be honest,
Mhm.
than the operational side. So people need to understand that. That's why I said earlier, the two work together. So from cyber insurance is the business, the legal, and occasionally maybe the monitoring, but more around cybersecurity is the operational side. And the people use the word technology because sometimes in modern technology, because when you look at even the operational side, you still have your framework to follow, you still have your regulatory to follow as well, and compliance. So both of them work together. Like I said earlier, they overlap, but
Mhm.
the distinction is from the cyber insurance is more like the legal and more like the monitoring and more like the business. Thank you.
That was a very deep dive into what actually happens after a certain incident occurs. And so, what I would like to ask is this next question actually exactly it perfectly comes into what happens next. So, have you encountered surprises or challenges when making a claim after an incident, just like we discussed? And what lessons did you learn, or perhaps you saw someone making a claim after an incident? What happened with them? Could you share more on that?
Thank you very much. I think there are a few examples, and one of the big shipping company, and basically had an issue around cybersecurity issue, and they were trying to make a claim. Okay, so that is what I was trying to explain now. The good thing for the insurance company was that their cyber insurance, and also um, their technical team. Let me use what I don't like using technical, because when you say technical, people think cybersecurity is more like
Yeah.
coding, chasing hackers and stuff. And let me use in this context, I'll use their security operations center or security monitoring team. So they were working in hand to hand, hand in hand. So there were no separation, there was no gap in information. So when this company came like, oh, we might need to, make a claim. One thing that the insurance company asks basically is around, they want to see how their environment was set up. And that's another thing. When um, cyber insurance company want to set up, they must understand some frameworks, they must understand some concepts. One of which I always tell my client is make sure you have what we call COCO, Code of Connection. Code of Connection statement document says you must give us access to see your environment, how you are set up. So we can see, we will advise you, oh, your environment is may be prone to attack because so and so firewall is weak, so and so you don't set up your gateway, seems that it can be quickly or poison or SQL injection can happen. So that's what I always advise. If
Mhm.
such a thing has not happened, my client could have paid heavily, but we told them, we saw your environment and we advised on this. Okay, make sure so your firewall is set up. The way you set up your firewall is a bit weak. The way this your routers might be. I mean, for instance, to surprise you, they are still using TLS 1.1. We advise make sure because when you're transferring data, it must be secure and encrypted. Use version 1.2 above, not 1.1. So those are the things that when they brought us in, we reviewed and good, got so good, they signed the COCO as well that, oh, everything we should, everything you've advised, we are going to correct. So when this issue happened, they can't claim. Simple, because they didn't follow advice, they didn't follow procedure, they didn't follow the guidelines. So those are the challenges we faced, and we were able to help our clients here.
Yeah, that's actually a very good perspective that you give and an example that you provide because it's something that you have told your clients, something that you have applied and experience, and I couldn't have been more happy to hear such an answer like that because, again, when we get this first hands-on experience from the expert, it's just the best kind of answer that I could get. So the main challenge, of course, involves making making a claim the right way, following the guidelines, and making sure that you actually get a payout or regulatory and law um, uh, concessions, I guess would be the right word. Because again, if you are not at fault at doing something, or if you're not at fault for a security breach or an incident happening, you are of course not liable to the responsibility that you carry afterwards. And in terms of separate insurance, I guess that would be a very good help. So the next question that I wanted to ask was, how do you ensure your policy evolves alongside emerging threats and organizational changes? Because again, as you mentioned, everything changes. This day is like this. Tomorrow will be different. How do you go about that?
Thank you. I think there's no two ways around that is to practice the policies. For
Mhm.
instance, if you put up a policy around um, admin attack, for
Mhm.
instance, you have to do the simulation. That's what people sometimes I would say they get complacent with because they believe, oh, you brought in somebody who's an expert. Yes, you have a tool, but you need to practice. Like I said, I came from the military background. We do a lot of exercise. We call it exercises. Sometimes it took us to America to go and do exercise with American counterparts just to simulate piracy, for instance, simulate airborne attack. So it gets us ready. It's not like when there's a war. Now you have to put on your kit and no, because we are, we practice, the readiness operation, they call it operation readiness. So you are ready for this. So it's same thing. Even it will interest you. Many of our cybersecurity um, um, solutions, many of the cybersecurity practices, many of the cybersecurity frameworks actually came from military. OWASP, for instance, OWASP, for instance, is from military. Reconnaissance, we do reconnaissance in military. We check out our enemies. We want to see how weak they are, then we attack them. So the same thing here. You make sure that you keep practicing. You keep practicing. So
Yeah,
that's all I would say. Practice your policy. If you need to make a change, you see any flaw in it, change it immediately. Don't
yeah.
wait till issues or threats or actors attack. So you have to keep practicing here.
That was a very interesting comparison that you made, and a very good one at that too, because you compare that with your background in the military. You do reconnaissance, you do scouting, you do everything as an exercise before actually the war happens, or in our case, the incident occurs. So yeah, I guess I would say that that's the best example that I could have
Thank you.
heard for this question. Yeah, so put into practice the
Yeah.
exercises and training regimens that you have for your cybersecurity policies. make sure they're tailored to your company standards. And this is actually one of the golden questions that I asked to all of our previous guests, and they all said pretty much the same thing, that you have to practice, you have to do training regimens, you have to make sure that everyone is on board and everyone is on the same page, and of course, very well prepared for an incident happening or any other type of bad thing that might occur in the space. So that takes me to my next question. Do insurance requirements drive genuine improvements in security, or do they simply create a compliance checklist mentality? Because this is something that we discussed with insider threats, with ISO certification, because most of the things that are in cybersecurity, if it's a certification or if it's some kind of requirement, some people just tend to get it as quickly as possible, check the boxes, and yeah, we are now certified, we are now compliant, and here is our badge. So please take it away, Emmy. What do you think
Thank
about
you
this?
very much. Okay, it's the answer is yes. Insurance requirement drives genuine improvement in security.
Mhm.
Okay, now according to research, now the cost of cyber insurance, awareness, risk that insurance company or the payout is getting lower now.
Mhm.
Okay, I was just doing some reading this afternoon. I saw it's going down. I think now from 2.7 now to 2.4. So it's going down drastically compared to even last year. So you can now appreciate the influence or the importance of cyber insurance now,
Mhm.
even to insurance company. Not only that to business, because like you and I know, any business that is prone, one thing is we don't want to lose its customer, especially customers that believe in any company. We've had a lot of situation where so many things happening underneath that they cannot even say it out to the world because one, customers are faith will be affected. Nobody wants to hear that my data is seen on black web or somebody else. So, but with the um, cyber insurance coming into place, it has driven, it has improved, it has helped the security posture of many organizations. So basically, it's not bringing it down. Basically, there's no complacency around that. Like, basically, it creates the more awareness, so to speak, because cybersecurity is about, I call it lifestyle. We started with how now you multi-factor authentication. Now you don't write your password on the table at office. Now you want to leave your table. You make sure that your laptop is not on. You understand what is PII. You understand. So these are the importance. And now the cyber security, because like cyber insurance, working with the legal, because in a legal aspect of any business, which is very very important, and also in terms of the business itself, imbibing cyber insurance basically into the foray has helped to shaping
Mhm.
the standards in place. Like I said, it's work in hand with the core cyber security, cyber insurance and cyber security work together.
Mhm.
Both of them depend on each other. None is you are lesser or you are bigger. No. So it has helped. So just to answer the question, it has helped and it has drive the genuine improvement in cyber security, in security as a whole. Yeah.
I mean, that's clear to me. And I think your answer just perfectly summarizes the fact that, yes, cyber insurance is there to help you. It's to be your cushion. It's to help you improve your frameworks. It's to help you, of course, also follow the guidelines because, again, there might be a risk of you not being compliant enough or not following the guidelines to get a payout. So, yeah, I think all in all, from all sides, cyber insurance actually improves. Um, Security, not just like a checklist mentality type thing, but you actually have to make sure that you're compliant with everything that is given to you by the cyber insurer. So that takes me to my next question about insurers and their role that they play. So should insurers play a more active role in assessing and verifying an organization's security controls before issuing a policy? And this, of course, adds to the previous question. You kind of started answering that question saying that yeah, they should go hand in hand together, but yeah, should they be more active and should they verify the security controls of organization before issuing the policies? So what do you think?
I would say yes, in the sense that it will even help the business because when they involve the insurer, basically to understand their security posture, especially like you said around policy, it helps. Look at my example I gave earlier, and
What?
the example I gave earlier with
Oh, yeah,
when we had an issue with a client who basically we advised initially they didn't bring us in, but we
yeah.
basically due to the experience we asked for their we submitted the code of connection. We said before we engage you, obviously you have to sign this code of connection. We want to know how you
Yeah,
set up. We are not interested in coming to take
yeah.
over your company, but just to basically to make sure that we advise you because from the advisory notes and perspective, we need to advise you that these are wrong, these are right, and you are not compliant to this. For instance, I'm very sure you have seen it. Big
Mhm.
companies, their certificate has already expired 6 months ago,
Yeah.
and they can see it, and one way or the other they just ignored. I don't know, maybe they thought is it doesn't matter or is a fun game out
I
there.
thought it was a checklist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like just to answer your question, it's a yes for me.
Mhm.
Insurance should play more active role. Even like I said, reviewing of policies. They shouldn't wait for customers. Sometimes to tell them because they have it on their checklist. I said they have like a maybe monthly meeting to understand security trends, threat trends. Because I've seen it before. I was working at MSP and we are basically managing environment for one of the big football body. I don't want to mention him. So
Yeah.
basically, and what I saw basically was basically overwhelming. So we have to tell them, oh, you might need to improve on your PKIs, for instance,
Mhm.
and if they have not brought us in, they could have been breached or something because they are far, far way behind. So I would say
Mhm.
yes. To answer your question, yes, insurance should play more active role. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost like insurers are going to facilitate a security first culture in organizations at this point, because again, to add to your answer, yeah, it's just going to be that much more work that you have to do to make sure you're compliant with everything. And cyber insurance just adds that much more to that in terms of policies and compliances and how you follow the strict guidelines.
Yeah.
But does having cyber insurance influence your organization's willingness to pay ransoms or negotiate with threat actors? This is a very interesting question that I want to ask
Yeah.
because, again, yeah, it's kind of touching the very thin line of, you know, whatever happens after things
Yeah.
go south. And yeah, what do you say?
I would say, yeah. Does having cyber insurance influence your organization willingness to pay more? No. Cyber insurance actually will help to reduce the
Mhm.
possibility of being, for threat being to happen and also to pay more or ransom at all. So, and the question basically is somewhat for me, but cyber insurance basically will help to mitigate or to help to reduce the risk level. And so, in terms of organization willingness to pay ransom, if you set up your cyber insurance or cyber insurance in place, I would say there's a minima, or very, very low potential or possibility of any ransom being paid. And like you said, anything can happen. And but I don't think in terms of pay ransom or negotiate with threat actors if you have your cyber insurance in place. Because,
Mhm.
like I said, don't forget we work in hand with the cyber security risk team. So risk management, risk mitigation, and even from before we get to being breached or the threat happen, we will look at your, for instance, response plan. We look at your containment rules. Basically, how do you contain? There's a risk, and also from, like I said, the legal perspective, we handle that, and also the business side with the security detect team, so to speak. So I believe cybersecurity and cyber insurance in place will help to reduce possibility of being breached or ransom being paid. So it will influence it positively, not negatively. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, that's very good to hear because, again, when we're talking about cyber insurance, helping you mitigate the risk, helping you reduce that possibility, it's again just coming back to the answer that cybersecurity and cyber insurance just fall hand in hand together. And I think it's like a very good answer to the main topic of the question for our topic. I guess like a good answer to the question in our topic: is it like a false sense of security? And going through all these questions and hearing you answer them, I'm more than convinced. I mean, I was convinced that cybersecurity and cyber insurance go hand in hand together, of course, but now all doubts are cleared. But course, there are some other questions that we wanted to ask you, like, uh, is there a risk that insurance could incentivize less investment in proactive security measures?
Mm.
Because yeah, this takes it to another level. And what would you have to say to that?
Thank you. I think this question, maybe you've received a lot of questionnaires from people, because
Mhm,
now people think the emergence of cyber insurance will take away the aspect of cyber security.
mhm,
Yes, because I was with a client in June. This same question, they have a cyber security department in terms of SOC, Security Operation Center,
mhm,
and they're trying to come up with a cyber insurance. So
mhm,
they were like, oh, if cyber insurance comes in, what will be the need of, because when you talk of cyber insurance, legal, business, you look at the frameworks, you look at some, help assisting some controls. So they were asking me, and I told them, simple, the cybersecurity, because it's broad now. Like, cybersecurity is really broad. So when you talk of
yeah.
cyber insurance, cyber insurance, it works with in hand with cyber security. So because a cyber insurance specialist cannot perform pen testing, for instance,
Mhm,
cannot pen test. A cyber insurance person cannot basically do some of the vulnerability in, if maybe like a dev of environment. No.
mhm,
So to answer your question, because of time, is there a risk that insurance could incentivize less investment in proactive security measures? No,
mhm,
it actually helps. Like I said, they work hand in hand. It helps um, the cybersecurity measures. If you put a measure in place, for instance, and is weak, and you believe is strong, and when you basically bring in cyber insurer, he points out, okay, this is weak, or this can be amended, or this can be enhanced using so and so, because once you have your cyber security in place in terms of your controls, one, there won't be possibility of being hacked or being breached is very, 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 very rare. Though, like I said, anything can happen. So working in hand with cyber insurance will basically be like, let me use the word QA, quality assurance or control. You will
yeah.
be checking your posture, you'll be checking your measures, you'll be checking your security controls. You will add another layer to your security ring in your gateway, for instance. So that's how they work in hand in hand. So it does
Mhm,
not take away the importance of cybersecurity or reduce or the good aspect of cybersecurity. So to answer your question, I would say, is there a risk that insurance could incentivize less investment? No. And
yeah.
again, it also depends on business. Some business do invest in cybersecurity, some don't really, to be honest with you. But the good and the bad can be weighed, and okay, it's better to invest, especially in our digital world now, AI world, where everybody, even the threat actors, they are improving it, to learn, to know how they want to breach, they want to cause havoc. So it's better to invest, not and or to sit down on the dock and being taken apart by the threat actors. So to answer your question, there's no risk, and
Yeah.
both work hand in hand, and they
Yeah.
help each other. Thank you.
Yeah, and I kind of want to add to that answer. Of course, perhaps a lot of the founders would think, "Oh, we have security insurance. Why would we then, go and spend all of this money on security measures when we can just essentially cut costs?" And yeah, it's actually the opposite. So you would think, "Oh, we're insured now, but we of course need to further implement more cybersecurity measures." Make stricter guidelines or make stricter policies forever, for instance. So yeah, that's how it will work. And I kind of agree with you on that answer again, because yeah, there is no risk, but it's a matter of understanding for the founders and of course for the CISOs and the CEOs of the different companies. And I think they would all go towards that, truth, the fact that you need to have more security measures, and the more the better. And if you're insured, it still does not relieve you of this duty that you have for your employees and for the data that you have and for the customers that you give a service to. So yeah, all in all, perfect. But the next question is, how do you involve legal, risk, and executive teams in decisions about insurance coverage and incident response planning? Because again, I touched on this topic a little bit previously. The CISO, the CEO, and of course the legal and the risk teams. How do they, go on about this and make their decision.
Thank you very much. I think basically how do we involve the legal risk and executive teams? It should be from the beginning. Let me try a little bit, digress a little bit. So it's
Yeah,
not in the middle or at the end. It's from the beginning. Okay.
yeah,
So if any product or any project around security is going to happen, you have to bring in the executive, because the executive must buy into the cybersecurity solutions and even cyber insurance. So it's from the beginning. And how do you do that? You can come up from a workshop, or basically, and or discovery stage. It depends on the or methodologies people want to use. So, but the main thing is you have to win. Let me use the word win. Win the executives teams to your side from the beginning, and you must show them the reason. You have to come up with proof of concept. You have to come up
yeah,
with options papers. Like, okay, this option one, so and so. You want to go through option two, so and so. Option three, and then you must be able to basically win them to your side, and also keep informing them, even no matter how techie or jargon some of the words might be. Make sure you carry them along and you keep involving them, basically just to make sure that
yeah,
they are you. What I do sometimes, I'll make them champion on the project. So basically, yes. So I just want them to be involved. Even if you see some of them, they're just looking for the solution. They're tired. They don't want to, but I still want to bring them in. So that's how you gain interest, you gain the attention, so to speak, and you have to make sure that in terms of coverage, you have a very, very, you've covered the scope of what you are trying to, insure, or you are trying to protect.
yeah,
And the response planning in the incident response planning also is very key. I made mention of that earlier. So in terms of response plan, you must make sure that you understand the business. Obviously, you must do that, number one. Number two, and the frameworks you're using, and also some of the controls in place. For instance, if you write a response plan that doesn't fit what you are trying to protect or what you want to respond, it makes no sense. And
yeah,
every letter, there's no ambiguity, plain written English, everybody can understand. And also, in terms of key people that you put in, for instance, the containment team, response team, and so on and so forth, you must make sure that they understand what they are doing, and they have a good knowledge, a good grasp of that. And the response plan as well must be reviewed and basically tested. You have to test it and review it, your response plan, like I said earlier. So there's no response plan that when incidents occur, it doesn't work, or you don't even know, okay, if A fails, let's jump to B. And who's the next person to call? In case something happened, there's a breach, and the person to call, so those are the things that will be in response. And for instance, even as simple as out of hours phone number. For sometimes maybe incidents happen in the night, and the person might have switched off his phone. What number do you call him to, and how do you get him? Or how do you practice basically? So as simple as that, all needs to be detailed in your incident response plan. Thank
yeah.
you.
So that got me thinking. It's not a question of how do you involve these teams. It's about when do you involve these teams, and they should be there at the beginning. And I think that's like the perfect way to put it. And yeah, I couldn't have even put it better myself, because you essentially ensure that everyone is on board, because security is as important as sales, as marketing, and usually the main goals of the people that are just newfound founders, creating their projects, creating their companies, their main interest might be that monetary question, because again, how do I make sure my company stays afloat? How do I make more money? How do I get to the masses? How do I make my marketing work? And sometimes the security might fall down in the list of priorities, but it shouldn't be so. And I think that's a great way to put it. So thank you for that, Yemi. But to take it to our next question, what role should insurance play in tabletop exercises and crisis simulations? This is a very interesting question that I wanted to ask you, Yemi. What do you think?
Thank you. With regards to tabletop exercises, again, this is taken from military.
Mhm.
Okay, because when I
Okay.
was in the Navy as well, there's something we call tabletop tactics. So
Oh,
basically, yes, you try to again simulate war. We'll be fighting another ship. We think, oh, they are Chinese, American. So you have your tabletop tactics. For instance, you say, okay, what if this side of the ship is taken, is blown apart? How do we recover? Things. So basically, once I see this question, yeah, I'm just thinking of my Navy nowadays. So basically, but in the role insurance play, just like we said, insurance basically they are not taking over the security engineer role, security analyst, security architect, vulnerability manager. blue team, purple team, red team. No,
Mm.
they are basically there to enhance whatever they are doing, to help, to assist, to
Mm.
support. So they are coming from the legal, from the business, and even sometimes from the monitoring to monitor. Okay, so that's the distinction between the two. Okay, so the insurance play a role from the legal perspective. What if we're it? How do we go through the legal? How do we make sure that the risk is not too much is something that the company can bear, so to speak. And how do you present in terms of what we could see, what we monitor, what happened in terms of trends, and again the business. How do we protect the business so that because we know that data policy, a lot of breaches and so on and so forth. We must control that. So that's where insurance comes into play, which is, like I said earlier, different from the operation side. So, so what role should insurance play? Insurance will play the role of
Mm.
support, and let me use the word like a checker, like a QA. They will QA what the engineers, analysts, architects, pen testers basically will do for the company. So they come at the role of a support and to assist in making sure that the security and even the business stays and manage any issues of concern here.
Mm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense because again, another military example, and it just helps me visualize this so much better because again, when you're planning all of this, when you're simulating the war, as you said, and when you're simulating different kind of incidents that may happen, of course, the insurance plays this very good role in as a support, you know, providing this kind of guideline or like a blueprint for the team to follow and ensure that the risk is mitigated. You know, everything that is possibly going to happen in the future that might be something bad, like an incident or like a breach or like a hack, is every precaution possible is taken to prevent that, and I think that's beautiful, of course. But taking it to another level, how do you see cyber insurance market? I mean, how do you see the cyber insurance market evolving in response to large scale incidents and rising claims? Because again, no system is safe. Unfortunately, some things happen. Out of 1,000 companies, 10 are probably, maybe more than that, are probably going to be at the mercy of bad actors. And things happen. And how do you take it?
Thank you. So, with regards to cyber insurance markets evolving, especially on the large scale incident and rising claims,
Mhm.
I think let me first also address that the claims are not really rising. Like I said earlier, it's going down. So that points out to the fact that the cyber insurance basically they are working hand in hand with the operation side of the cybersecurity and also policy controls, um, um, regulations are being reviewed regularly because every day I think maybe like 2 years ago, you will hear a lot of breaches. You hear a lot of Microsoft being attacked, this and that. Every morning we have to go through scanning. But now it's reducing a little bit because of tools and involvement of cybersecurity and cyber insurance working together and to understand the trends. Because when you see the trends, for instance, and you can basically simulate, okay, you can write the playbook. For instance, now cyber insurance also have playbooks, and they are working around with even security operation center to enhance the playbooks as well. So those are the areas where I mentioned working together and also helping to shape or shapen the cybersecurity environment, so to speak. So involvement of cyber insurance has helped to reduce the claims, not like before in terms of when it's rising. So of course, having said that, there are still needs. There are still need for more controls and more reviews of regulations and even frameworks. You see many frameworks are being adopted now, and in the UK, especially Ministry of Defense, they are thinking now by design
Yeah.
principle, and which basically it took them a while before they could accept that, but now they've understood that that needs to be done. So those are the things that even from the area of cyber assurance, it's basically helping as well. So yes, I can see that the I would like to rephrase your question now. I can see that the rising in claims will go down. We will not increase if the cyber security professional SMEs are working together, and there are reviews to um, policies and also security controls, for instance, and even solutions are being looked in and they worked in, and nobody says, "Oh, you're not relevant," or "We want to do it this way." And I think my answer would be basically the is rising in claims should go down. But if policies, controls, and reviews are not done, we can witness another episode of breaches and which will lead to claims soaring. Yeah.
Mm. That's an interesting take because I think, of course, with the rise of the market of cybersecurity solutions, projects, companies, there will of course be a rise in other types of companies that will employ their services. And I think that was actually a very interesting take because again, you have like a very distinct way you look at cyber insurance, and I loved hearing that answer. But the next question that I wanted to ask was, and this is the one that I was looking forward to ask you, of course, because uh, it's going to touch a very interesting topic, as we will hear now. So, are insurers equipped to accurately assess the security maturity of organizations, or is this still a black box process? Because again, the insurers are, of course, playing a big part in evaluating the company's security policies, in evaluating the risk for themselves, of course. Because if it's going to be like something fraudulent, you have to make sure you're circumnavigating that. And what is your take on that, Amy?
Thank you. I think I will go with you on this. So insurance majority are not there yet,
Yeah.
like you said. That I think the reason is the organizations basically maybe they are not sharing enough. And also when you talk of maturity, don't forget that when the maturity stage basically might need improvement, and also there are some of aspects of that that might need to be evaluated, or in terms of a evaluation. For instance, I was working for a consultancy. In terms of security maturity, they have a different approach. Okay, some things that are meant to be maybe flag as a risk, the time they will look at it and they will accept it. They raise a risk acceptance form for that, and it will go to the hierarchy and they will look at it. Maybe they will say they might think, okay, it's not something that we can flag off, so we reduce the priority, maybe from P1 to P3, P2, depends on the, like I said, the business and how their risk appetite. Let me just put that way, their risk appetite. So this will affect insurers, to speak, and there's nothing they can do to that. Even if they pick it as flag it as a risk, the business says no. It's not P1, it's P3. It's a medium we can manage because we are also in place. We put in the risk log, we put it in the we have done impact assessment. But insurance saying, oh, this is a P1. So now the both cyber insurance and cyber security need to sit down and basically now discuss way to go about. Maybe they'll check in terms of their risk appetite. They have to score look at the CVS score, for instance. They have to look at how risky the risk basically is in terms of a risk appetite. So that's why I said I'm going with you on that. So insurance are not there yet. They might need to learn more, because if they have access or they are working, let me use the word, they have the knowledge of a security architect, engineer, or analyst. Some things that actually might not be actually risk, to be honest with you, might be maybe false positives. So that's another aspect we have to look at it. So I'll go with you. They need to be equipped accurately to access the security maturity, because of what I've seen in my journey, and like I said, and also the risk appetite of any business. They might say, oh no, anything above, say for instance, 5 is high, and while some people tell you 5 is medium, we anything 7 is high for us. So these are the things that they need to learn here. Thank you.
that was an interesting take, and I think that is going to be like the perfect segue into the next question because you've had a lot of interesting takes, and of course I fully agree with you on most of them. I mean, I fully agree with you on all of them. It's very hard to disagree the fact that cyber insurance and cybersecurity go hand in hand. You have to follow all the compliance. You have to make sure you follow the guidelines. You have to make sure you do the exercises with the two military examples that we had. And so this question is going to ask you, um, if you could design the ideal cyber insurance policy, what would it include and what would you deliberately leave out?
Thank you. Basically, if it's for me, I think one thing I would do is the business that basically we want to design the insurance policy for.
Mhm.
Okay, if it's a high risk business, obviously it will different from low risk business. For instance, if it's let me just put it this way: a shipping company flying through the Strait of Hormuz, where there's an issue now in the Middle East, the risk will be high, isn't it? Or um, an application interfacing with the dark web and all this stuff, the risk will be high. So and also controls. I will look at the controls in place, like we said earlier. Do you have a SOC team? Your SOC team, how is it set up? Is it tier one, tier two, tier three? How do you carry out your threat intelligence? And I want to look at your environment. How do you set up your, for instance, your gateway? How do you set up your is your WAF for your application in place? And even daily activity, daily routine. Do you carry out scan activities in the morning to understand your enterprise? And then also, how do you do your patching weekly, 3 months, monthly? So those are the things that will inform my design. I want to design the security insurance policy for the business in question. So, and that will help me to basically do a thorough design and in terms of the business needs. Okay, because some business will tell you, okay, we want this side to be protected. Okay, we are payment card industry. We want our gateways. We want our portal to be presented. While some will tell you, oh, there's no data here, so no need, or there's no. But at the same time, we want it to want it controlled because even though there's no data, threat actors can still use that to gain access, isn't it?
Yeah.
So these are the things that we so business and also the appetite and in terms of risk appetite, we inform my design policy. Yeah.
I mean, you have me convinced, Emi. If I'm gonna go for a cyber insurance policy, I'm gonna go with yours. That was actually very good. Uh, but yeah, all in all, that's going to take us to our last question. And of course, we have managed to answer. I mean, you have managed to give such good answers to most of the questions that I asked today, and I was, just baffled at the way I was actually in the gray for most of these things because again, I was doing the research, I was reading the headlines, I was looking at the articles, I was looking at the news, and I didn't realize that it goes a lot deeper than that. So uh, with this last question, we're going to of course wrap it up, but this last question is I think very important. Do you believe cyber insurance ultimately helps or hinders transparency and information sharing after a breach? Because and I want to state how important this question is again. So we touched on what happens after an incident, in terms of how cyber insurance actually covers most of the things that you would be at a loss for. But in terms of transparency and information sharing, what happens here?
Thank you very much. So basically, cyber insurance shouldn't hinder transparency and
Mhm.
information sharing after breach.
Mhm.
It should basically help information sharing because if there's a breach, okay, we want to have the root cause. What caused the breach, for instance? And that's, from the onset, we are talking about cyber security and cyber insurance working together.
Mhm.
So from the activity performed by the security engineer, network engineer, the security team, so to speak,
Mhm.
and basically we help for the cyber insurance because for the cyber insurance, what we are looking for is to make sure that the business, we cushion effects of threats, effects of breach, and also we assist in terms of making sure that the security controls are in place, just to make sure that we don't go into black book, and also to make sure that we minimize any occurrence or any aftermath of the breach. So cyber insurance will only help okay, in transparency and information sharing after breach, because it will show what could have been done better. Remember, we mentioned that we can call cyber insurance as a
Yeah.
QA, quality
Yeah.
assurance, basically just to make sure that, okay, this should be done, this should have been done better, this is, should be done, this could have been added to the control, this could have been, checked in time. Oh, this has, elapsed. Oh, we didn't see this. So basically, so just to answer your question, and also to wrap up, cyber insurance and cyber security work hand in hand together. So they help and in transparency and information sharing after breach. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just thinking of an example. If I buy like a very nice BMW M5 or something like that, I'm obviously going to get insurance on it, and I'm going to make sure I never scratch it ever. So, not only do I have this very soft cushion in terms of having insurance, but I also get the benefit of knowing that there is going to be that help for me in case things go wrong. But that only ultimately makes me want to keep my car safe, and I guess that could be applied here too. So you're not only getting more transparency and information sharing after a breach, but you don't really think about that. You don't go there when we're talking about putting cybersecurity and cyber insurance hand in hand. We're talking about making sure that those things never happen, and
Yeah.
that's what we managed to take away from this webinar. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, that's actually all our questions done. We've had some reactions in the chat. We've had over 100 people watching this webinar at one point, and I couldn't be happier because again, this is the ultimate result that we strive towards. And I hope that everyone that has been watching this webinar enjoyed it and has been staying with us for the longest time. And again, thank you, Yemi, for bringing these answers to these questions, making sure everything is clear, providing your examples with your military experience. Those are actually very fun to hear, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
be happier. So thank you, Demi, again.
Welcome.
Before we go, would you like to say any last words? How can people find you? What are the services that you provide? Because again, we want to give you this space to promote yourself.
Thank you very much, Topa. And yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Just my name, just type my name, Yemin Edi. And like I've
Yeah,
said, I'm a cybersecurity architect. So, and I function in public domains, banks, and oil and gas. And I reside here in England. So, yes, so just you can find me on LinkedIn, please. And yes, we're happy to help. Cybersecurity is for everyone, not just for a business or a particular person. So, it's like I said, it's a culture. So, let's move the
yeah.
culture forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to be it for us. We're going to tag you, Amy, and for everyone that wants to find Amy and learn more about cyber insurance, you'll have the chance to do that. But that is going to be it for today. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to have another one of these webinars with Prince Hugo, and I hope you'll be looking forward to that. We'll be sharing news on the next webinars very soon. Yeah, stay tuned and stay safe. That's the best CDA to end this with. And this webinar, of course, was brought to you by Passwork, a self-hosted password manager. If you're interested in that, you can get a free demo by scanning the QR code above Yemi here.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone.